We're now pleased to recognize 5 individuals who are receiving Faculty Staff Inspiration Awards. The Faculty Staff Inspiration Awards are funded by earnings, as you have learned, from the Nancy and Richard Degner Alumni Association Endowment. Again, we thank Rich and Nancy for their generous support. The Alumni Association established this award 11 years ago as a way for former ISU students to recognize current or former ISU faculty and staff who had a significant influence in their lives as students at Iowa State. Tonight, we have asked the nominators to speak on behalf of each award recipient. You may also read in detail about the award recipients in the program booklet. I will introduce the individual we have asked to speak about the awardees, and they, in turn, will tell us about the recipients. Honorees will then come to the stage where we will acknowledge them and take photographs. Award recipients will make brief remarks and then return to their seats. Our first award recipient is Eric Albert. Eric, a 1967 graduate with a degree in journalism, is University Emeritus Professor of Journalism and Mass Communications. Speaking on behalf of Eric is his nominator, Avinash Pucholi. Avinash graduated from Iowa State in 1991 with a master's in journalism and mass communications. He is a retired teacher and journalist and currently is an honorary teacher for Indian Social Service Organization and lives in Regal Park, New York. Avinash wasn't able to be in Ames with us tonight, so he sent an audio message to honor Eric. Please listen.
Honorable guest, Dr. Eric Allen Abbott. Friends, you heard it right. Dr. Abbott is among the educators being decorated with the 2023 Faculty Staff Inspiration Award. I wish I could be there in person to see Eric being honored. Hi, my name is Avinash Pancholi from New York, a 1991 journalism master's alumnus. I had the privilege of nominating Eric for this coveted award. Eric has earned this accolade through his lifelong dedication to empowering his students. I feel nostalgic as I recall Eric's classes from the fall 1989 through October 1991. He would connect to each one of us, beaming a winning smile and sitting informally by the edge of the table. Myself from India, I felt a caring educator was there to guide me. He would invite questions and make concerted efforts to meet our needs. No wonder I never missed a single class. I applied Eric's strategies to hone my skills as a news editor of a weekly, to help my English language learners, to train teachers as a coordinator for the New York City Department of Education, and to connect to parents of my Hispanic students. Even today, after over 33 years as a volunteer teacher, I recall Eric's strategies to empower our youth. I remember how patiently he helped me revise my thesis drafts. I sought Eric's guidance when I donated $21,000 to the ISU Foundation to establish an India Studies Scholarship. I look forward to his continued guidance as I'm considering more donations to ISU. I continue to interact with Eric regularly to hone my skills as a writer and an environmentalist. It's my great pleasure to invite my mentor and lifelong teacher, Dr. Eric Abbott, to the podium to receive this award. Thank you, dear Cyclones. Thank you, everybody.
First of all, my thanks to my former graduate student, Avi, who nominated me for this award. During his successful career as both a journalist and a teacher, he demonstrated amazing curiosity about the world and an ability to share that excitement and curiosity with readers and with students. My former journalism colleague, Paul Yarborough, often pointed out that as educators, we stand on the shoulders of those who have come before us. 5 of my journalism faculty colleagues have already received this Inspiration Award. I'm very honored to be number 6. Inspiration is a two-way street. It requires a teacher whose knowledge and enthusiasm comes through in every lecture and assignment. But it also requires that a student be receptive and be ready to be inspired. And then it requires a catalytic moment, something said, demonstrated, or experienced that triggers an intellectual or emotional excitement and curiosity that can lead to life-changing behavior and enrichment. These catalytic moments are rare, but I'm sure everyone here can think of several in their own lives. We think about teachers inspiring students, but often it is curious and challenging students who inspire great teaching. I'm an ISU grad. I got 2 examples to share from my own student experience being inspired. Hester Fassel taught a very popular class at Iowa State in human sexual reproduction. You can imagine a popular class. One day she talked about a new book just off the press by 2 researchers, Masters and Johnson, who had begun scientifically studying the process. She invited those who were interested to join her outside of class, at a bar as it turned out, to discuss the findings and their implications. I still remember the excitement to talk about the new research, and I still have the book, which I purchased right away. In 1966, I was the editor-in-chief of the Iowa State Daily newspaper, and students elected a radical student body president named Don Smith. Rumors swirled around the campus about his activities, including an invitation to Life magazine to visit and come to his marijuana party. I wrote the first story published concerning these details and setting in motion a series of events that eventually led to Smith leaving for Berkeley, California. Later, I received a note from then department head Jim Schwartz. It contained only 3 inspirational words: job well done. We focus on inspiration because it is the force that excites us, that keeps us going when things are difficult, and that allows us to accomplish more than we ever dreamed possible. I'm honored to receive this award and happy that I was able to be a teacher at a university that emphasizes good teaching and creates many opportunities through classes, clubs, and field research that inspires so many students. Thank you.
Our next recipient is Marilyn Barrett. Marilyn is the former retail director at the Iowa State Daily and is currently a realtor with Hunziker and Associates. Introducing Marilyn is Trey Hemminson. Due to weather conditions in Denver, Trey was unable to fly in to Ames today. But please turn your attention to the screen.
Hello and good evening. I'm so sorry that I'm unable to be there in person with you all tonight. My time at Iowa State gave me the knowledge and skills needed to be successful in my career, but more importantly, gave me an incredible network of friends, advisors, and professional connections. While I was reflecting on everything that contributed to where I am today, one person stood out to me as all of those things and so much more. In fact, I reached out to several of my old colleagues and classmates from the Iowa State Daily, and they felt the same way about one of the recipients of this year's Faculty Staff Inspiration Award. Several actually joined me in writing nomination letters. Marilyn Barrett is a leader, a mentor, a coach, an entire cheer squad pulled into one person rooting for your success, and sometimes even a personal therapist you didn't realize you needed who weighs in on those life choices and challenges. Marilyn took a chance on me in my role as an advertising account executive at the Iowa State Daily. At my first day on the job, Marilyn immediately made me feel like I belonged. I was instantly hooked on the Daily and what would be my life for the next few years, along with a group that would become lifelong friends. I didn't realize until well after my first day, but Marilyn's impact and the skills she taught me, along with her personal support, helped shape who I am today and instilled values that I wouldn't have picked up from just classes or professors alone. My first year at the Daily was the hardest in my time at Iowa State, with classes, learning a new sales territory, and the loss of both of my grandfathers that year. Marilyn was there for me and so many others as a leader, a mentor, and a friend, and she helped me build the skill set I needed to be successful in the job, often staying late in the office after classes, even though her family was at home. We ran through practice pitches, what to listen for in objections. We brainstormed ideas for client marketing plans. She personally attended countless sales calls to help me close deals, and she was known for many therapy sessions at her desk. Speaking of that desk, Marilyn had this L-shaped desk, and it was the place everyone wanted to be while we were in the office because it meant they got to spend time venting to her in their own therapy sessions, strategizing on both work and life challenges, and really absorbing bits of knowledge from the person across from them, Marilyn. These are just a few examples of how Marilyn went above and beyond, how she led with empathy, and how she cared for her students and staff. But there are countless stories from others that I'm probably not aware of and can't do justice in telling this room. What I can say from my personal experience, along with those who joined me to nominate Marilyn, is that she truly inspired, shaped, made us all better people. So Marilyn, congratulations, and thank you for being an incredible part of our lives. Please join Jeff on stage to receive your award.
Well, good evening. It is just really good to be here this evening. Katie told me, Marilyn, I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to speak, and my son-in-law said, you better put it on paper, otherwise they're going to be there for hours listening to you. So I promise this won't be a therapy session tonight. I am truly humbled by this experience. It is such an honor to be able to stand up here and be recognized that I did make a difference in many people's lives. It means a lot to me to be able to say that. So thank you to Trey and Katie and Nicole for nominating me. Just a little bit about myself. I came to Iowa State from a very long career in print media, and I stepped into this role as a retail advertising director for the Iowa State Daily. Had no idea what I was getting myself into. But each day I did have the privilege to work with about 18 to 20 very talented students. Just really meant a lot to me. My goal was to allow each of them the opportunity to be self-employed in a career of advertising and marketing by giving them hands-on experience with a huge safety net, me and the Iowa State Daily, which they really appreciated many days. There was many times we had some sit-down sessions of, you can't really do that or you can't really say that, but I'll fix it for you. My goal was to allow each of them to experience what it would be like to be self-employed, because I felt that being in marketing and advertising, it's an area that you can have that opportunity to be self-employed. So each student was given an account base of clients that they called on weekly to assist them with their marketing needs and successfully sell them advertising packages. Pretty tough job, considering the amount of cold calls that they had to make, plus develop these business relationships with their clients. And as you may know, it's kind of hard to get those phones out of our hands and those computers off our desk and speak to someone face to face. It's so much easier to text. So that was probably my biggest challenge, was to make them realize you've got to talk to those people instead of texting to them. We would meet weekly, as Trey would speak of, to talk over our strategies and progress that they had to reach their goals. The time we spent together went by fast. And at the end, it was very bittersweet for me. I was proud of what they'd accomplished, but it was always hard to say goodbye. I would always send each student off with an exit interview. And during this time, we talked about their strengths, and we talked about their weaknesses. And I would always be sure to give them a Marylandism. Believe me, I had tons of those. It was great keeping in touch now that they're all graduated and on doing their careers. And I can see how they've gone out into the world and they have flourished. So here I am now accepting this award. It is truly humbling, and I thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
Our next recipient is Tom Gershell. Tom spent 36 years in the Iowa State Athletics Communications Department. Speaking on behalf of Tom is Brad G. Brad, please come forward. Brad graduated from Iowa State in 2008 with a degree in journalism and mass communications. He is the Vice President of Football Communications for the Kansas City Chiefs. Please welcome Brad G.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate everybody having me. As Jeff mentioned, I graduated from Iowa State in 2008. And I was a student here in the Athletics Communications Department for 3 years with Tom. It means a lot for me to be here today and to have the chance to honor and introduce a man who really gave me all the right tools and the opportunities to set me on the right career path to live my dream, which I've been doing, for the last 15 years with the Kansas City Chiefs. But beyond me, this man has really invested so much time and energy into countless number of students. In my 3 years, I saw dozens, but the man's been doing this for 36 years, and over 36 years, you see a lot of students. And it's amazing because Tom has this knack to just be able to get in front of students and figure out individually who they are and what they're trying to do and where they want to go. And that investment in time, for me, was absolutely critical to where I wanted to go. In my first ever job interview with Tom, I showed up, and I remember actually Tom and Aaron and Beener and Schultz, everybody was all there. And I think Tom's objective was actually to scare me out of doing the job, because I remember him telling me, he said, if you're a fan, you're not going to be here. Don't work here. And if you live with Tom in the press box, you hear him all the time say, if you're going to cheer, go outside. So he really taught me how to work, taught me how to do the job the right way. And probably more important than that, he taught me how to foster relationships. Everybody in here that knows Tom knows how important it is and how focused he is when he talks to you. You can tell that he cares. And that was really important. You learn a lot by watching people. I had a front row seat to be able to see so many different former staff members, former students, and everybody behind Tom's back admires him and talks so highly of him. And it's fun to just hear stories, because there's so many different stories. I could stand up here all day and tell you different stories that are fun about Tom. But I feel the same way. I really admire and I adore Tom. And beyond the job, Tom was always there to give me advice. So whether it was career or whether it was life, he always sat with me. We had days where we were doing football notes at 2 or 3 in the morning. And I remember we had some pretty good conversations during those times, and a lot of guidance. So it was really important to me. It's really hard for me to fully put into words how much I appreciate Tom. For those of you that know him, you know that he's a quirky, funny, kind-hearted man, and I'm really proud to call him a friend of mine. Working for the Chiefs for the last 5 years, we've had a lot of success. And it's been a heck of a lot of fun. And especially this last year, we win the Super Bowl. And in those moments, I keep finding myself going back in my mind, and you think about how you got there and the path you chose to get there. And one of my first thoughts in all of those moments that I've had that are the pinnacle of my career, I always go back to Tom. And I think about him and the time that he invested in me to get me to where I wanted to go. So before I ramble on too long, let's bring Tom up here and let him say a few words.
My advisors also told me to write this down on paper. And my best friend in the world, whenever I start talking about something, he always says, "Is this going to be a long story?" And that's my best friend. So I'm gonna very much shorten even what I had here. But Brad, as most of you know, I think, is the Vice President of Communications for the Kansas City Chiefs of the National Football League, and has really blossomed but really paid his dues. And what he said about scaring away the new students, I learned pretty early on that a student would come to us and they'd say, and I want to work in here. And I'd say, well, why do you want to work in here? Because I just love the Cyclones. And I would look at that and go, that is the worst reason in the world to want to work in our office. We need to, in here, focus on developing your writing skills, focus on developing your desktop publishing skills, and other pragmatic things that will prepare you to, when you graduate, go out and get a job. Now also, Katie, look at Ty, she's way in the back. Katie is one of our former students, Assistant Vice President Assistant Vice President of Constituent Engagement. Okay, say that right. Okay, and I have to say, I got up here a little nervous because I looked at the vitas that were there of the other honorees, and it was very humbling for me. And I also see that Brittany Rutherford, from just looking in the program, is another student of ours, and she's joining the board of directors next year. And this coming week, I will be going to the Indy 500, and I'll be welcomed there by Al Larson, who his dream was to work in IndyCar racing. And through a lot of sacrifice and hard work, he became the principal communications director for the Andretti family in Indianapolis for a number of years. And so I enjoy so much looking and seeing these people climb the ladder. My first athletics director was Max Schurig. 1985 I started. Good director, even better man. My last was Jamie Pollard. Good director, even a better person. Here tonight, I cannot get up here without recognizing the people who were in the office with me, with our students, all through this time. And Aaron Rosacker is here. Aaron's been here now 28 years, moved on to be a communications specialist in University Strategic Relations and Communications. Mike Green has took my place, was a fabulous person in that job. He went on and is now director of traditions, working on honoring the legacy of all of our student athletes at Iowa State. And just like everything in this building, when you look around and all the history they put up here, if you don't celebrate and educate about your legacy, you don't have any. And it's so important. And then Matt Schultz is also here. And Matt, you've been here 18 years now? And now he is our assistant athletics director for communications. My good fortune here of inspiration has many names. And I wrote a bunch down, and you're not going to hear all but one of them, because I want to stay true to the time. When I came here, I had been here 10 years, and Dan McCarney came to Iowa State as our head football coach. Now, the way, the culture, and the situation could not have been more different than it is now. We hadn't been to a bowl game since 1978. And I worked in the Jacobson building, before that in the Olson building, with those football coaches. And you see them every day working away. Not just on game day, not just in the fall, not just in the December at the bowl game, every single day. And Dan was indefatigable in working toward his goals and trying to get this program turned around. And there were a ton of people who didn't think he was going to get it done. Indeed, we went through with Dan 5 seasons before we had a winning season. Today, I don't know that any coach could have lasted that long. Dan did, because he was a consummate leader, a consummate friend, and a man who respected everybody on support staff that worked with the football program. And slowly but surely, through perseverance, we got to, I should tell you, in 1997, we won 1 game. And we were off 1 week. And I was watching Eastern Iowa television. And the sportscaster was going through the scores, and he said, "Oh yeah, and one more score, Idle 21, Iowa State nothing." Well, I called and said my piece, but that's where we were. That's where we were. And then a year later, and this September 12th will be the 25th anniversary of the day our team went to Kinnick Stadium. And if you went to that game and you weren't a parent or a grandparent, if you went as a supporter of Iowa State to Kinnick Stadium, where we had lost a huge string of games, hadn't won in 15 years, you should be able to get some cardinal and gold chalk and write your name on the campanile or something like that as a reward if you came that day. My hat is off to you. Well, we won that game, 27-9. It wasn't even close. It wasn't a fluke. And within 2 years, I was standing on the tarmac in Phoenix for the Insight.com Bowl, and the plane landed. And Dan, of course, was the first off, always absolutely 1,000% dapper, well-dressed guy, shaking the hands of all these bowl people. And some tears came to my eyes, because I'm like, I can't believe that we've finally made it. And it was the precursor, 5 bowls in 6 years. I could name so many people, and I wish I had time to name them all, but one other individual that is here is J. Elaine Heber in the back. And Elaine was my boss, and I was very fortunate with my bosses. I worked for Pete Taylor. Many of you know who he was, the voice of Iowa State from 1970 to 2003. And I was one of 7,000 who thought that I was his best friend. He was a great boss. And then I had Elaine. And Elaine, first of all, in and of what she has accomplished, there is not, if you go to a women's basketball game or a volleyball game, Elaine was the one who, going uphill, fought those battles and stuck up for women's athletics when it wasn't cool like it is now. It wasn't as cool. And she did that. But she was way more than that, and was a great boss. And the biggest thing I can say about Elaine and of the people I worked with and that inspired me here is just that she wanted me to succeed. You've all worked for people. You've probably worked for a bunch of different people. It's always good when you have that feeling of the individual you're working for and you know that they want you to succeed. They aren't just throwing you in the pool and walk away and get a drink and I'll come back in 15 minutes and see if you're still swimming, okay? They want you. They have a personal interest in seeing you succeed. And Elaine did that for me. So at Iowa State, I found people all over campus that would go the extra mile for me, and that inspired me. And in closing, I would just like to say, recognize my family. My sister, Bonnie May, is here, Iowa State graduate. My brother-in-law, Dr. Ken May, gutted it out in the trailer over there in the trailer courts by Vet Med. Became a veterinarian. My father, Robert, who would love to be here, I'm sure, class of 56 business. My mother, class of 57, clothing and textiles. No, textiles and clothing. Okay, either way, you get the idea. He lived in Friley, and she lived in Elm. My dad took me to my first game in 1973. I bought a jersey that I wore home, and I'd wear it at track practice. And where the players' names usually are, it just said Cyclones. Well, I went to a very big high school where you didn't know everybody. And there were kids on the team after a year who thought my name was Tom Cyclones. It happened. My daughter, Liza, teaches dance in San Francisco. My pride and joy. And my son, Robbie. Robbie grew up around athletics, so he didn't have the awe that some kids have, because he was always around. And one day I arranged for Cy to meet his preschool class. I thought I was doing a great thing as a dad. And here they come, these kids off the bus, and they run towards Cy, and there's Cy, and Robbie gets there and goes, "It's just a guy in a costume." Well, that precocious little boy grew up to be a wonderful man that I love and admire. And then my wife, Beth, daughter of a faculty member, works at Iowa State, earned a master's degree here, and represents people in the Iowa House of Representatives. And she inspires me every day, every single day. And I'll just close with this. When we were at the height of the COVID, and I'm talking like March 2020 and April 2020, when everything was locked down, so I wouldn't go crazy, for about 3 days a week, I'd get in the car and go for a drive just around Ames, just to be outside. And I would always go down the road past Merle Hall and past Beardshire, because the campus was completely like it never was and never will be again. Totally empty. But one car was parked there by Beardshire, and it had Cyclone plates. And on those plates it said, "To serve." And I thought to myself, that's what I've done. That's all that I have done. And I'm fortunate and the students we worked with are fortunate to work at a place at Iowa State where inspiration leads to great innovation, even things you thought were never possible, like beating the Hawkeyes 5 years in a row at that time. Not anymore, but at that time, okay? And the inspiration at Iowa State, the inspiration that leads to that innovation is all around you. It's everywhere. And I was just fortunate that I was in this place at this time. So, thank you very much.
There will be collection kettles at each of the doors. Our next recipient is Sojung Lee, who is an associate professor of hospitality management. Speaking on behalf of Sojung is Jim Butler. Jim, please come forward. Jim graduated from Iowa State in 2017 with a PhD in hospitality management. He is Chief Executive Officer for Club Benchmarking and lives in Estera, Florida.
Good evening, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here. Dr. Lee and her family are over there, and I think it's without saying that your greatest accomplishment are those three little ones that are there with you and your husband. I first met Dr. Lee. I was her very first PhD student. And needless to say, I was probably, and still am, her oldest PhD student also. So I had a full-time job at those days, and I ran a club in Naples called Gray Oaks. And I had always done a satisfaction survey for years and years and years, and I thought, I'm going to go back to school, and potentially I want to do one other career development in my life, and I know satisfaction, so I'm going to go to Iowa State, enter the program, and learn about satisfaction. And at the time we were doing a capital improvement project at the club, and I was working with Dr. Lee, and one of the new members said, "Hey Jim, why don't you have a focus group and do a focus group of new members, because the new members don't think like the older members, and I would really like to tell you what we think that the club needs." And I was really excited about that, and I called Dr. Lee up, and we were doing something else. We were doing some other research, and I said, "Hey, Dr. Lee, the new member had an idea, and he thought maybe we should do a focus group for him, and I think that's a good idea." And she said, and this is going to build on Dr. Abbott's, and she said, "Well, Jim, why do people join your club?" I said, "Well, come on. We're in Naples, Florida. It's nice. The weather's great. We got 3 golf courses. That's why they joined." She said, "That's great. Send me the data on that. Send me the research on that." And I said, "No problem. I'll do that." So this was a Friday afternoon about 3 o'clock. So I called our membership director. Her name was Kitsy. And I said, "Hey, Kitsy, why do people join the club?" And she said, "Well, come on, Jim. We're in Naples, Florida. The weather's nice. And we got 3 golf courses." I said, "Great, Kitsy." I said, send me the report that says that, because I haven't seen it. I'd really like to see that. And she said, "Well, I don't have one. I really don't have one." She said, "There is a line on the application that why they joined, but I really don't know." I thought, okay, I'm a smart guy. I've been doing this a long time. I know I'm 100% right. So I look in all the academic journals for why people join clubs. Guess what? Not one article on it. I looked in all the club journals for why people join clubs. Guess what? Not one article on it. And I laid in bed on Friday and Saturday, and I had a full-time job already, and it was a full-time job. I had kids, and I'm living somewhere else. But I woke up and I was like, I just can't live with myself. I called her up and I said, "Sojung, all right, I give. We're gonna do this." And she said, "Great, Jim. Write down all the reasons why you think people join the club." So I wrote down, it took me about 5 minutes, right? I could zip them right off the top of my head. 32 items. I ripped them off, sent it back to her in about 5 minutes back. She sent it back to me, said, Jim, that's not why people join your club. And she said, here's 20 articles. I want you to read them, and then you're teaching the class in 3 weeks on internal motivation. And we talk about that, but that was life-changing for me because it took me on a path to understand that what I thought I knew, I didn't know. And she could have done it a million different ways, but she took me by the hand and led me through that and led me on a journey, a 4-year journey to really understand what satisfaction was, but more importantly, what really motivates people. And with that knowledge, when I graduated, it gave me the opportunity that we bought, we bought a data analytic company up in Boston. And since that, she's been a great partner for us as we've grown that company. So Jung, thank you for that. So I'd like to introduce Sojung Lee.
Thank you. I have a little note. So I practice to make sure it's going to be less than 3 minutes. And if I knew that it's going to be over 3 minutes, could be more long story, but it's going to be 3 minutes. Okay. I'm overwhelmed with gratitude to receive this award tonight. Thank you all for being here tonight to share in this recognition. It means a great deal to me that the work that I'm so passionate about now resonates with others. I'm truly honored to have my work acknowledged in this manner. My nominator, Jim Butler. Jim was my first PhD student right after I graduated from my doctoral program. Yesterday, I was a student, and then tomorrow, I'm the advisor. I wasn't sure what I can teach him, what I can do with him. But through that opportunities, the times, I really enjoyed my time working with him. And now he's my industry partner and my colleague, friend, and mentor. He introduced me to club industry, opening my eyes to new research areas and presenting tremendous opportunities in club industry for research, outreach, and extension. And I have significantly grown as a evolving scholar over time. And also I look forward to more exciting opportunities coming in the future as he continues to empower and inspire me. This recognition is not something that I did by myself. So there are many others who deserve to share in this moment. I would like to express my gratitude to our college dean, Julie. Also, awesome department chair, Dr. Nim, and graduate education director for our department, Dr. Fiore, and also awesome award committee chair, Dr. Jung. And also my graduate students here and hospitality management program, especially distance PhD program, who really give me opportunity to connect myself to industry. And really give me opportunity envisioning a bright future for education in hospitality and management, and tourism as well. My appreciation extends to the Alumni Association Award Committee, Board of Directors, and staff. Lastly, but certainly not least, I would like to thank my husband, Hojin, and my 3 kids, Yerin, Herin, and Jaden, for their unwavering love and support through my career and many adventures that I experienced here in Ames. This recognition serves as further encouragement for me to continue my efforts and passion in working with my students and providing support on their journey at Iowa State University. I'm humbly appreciate. Thank you so much.
Our final recipient is Tricia Nepple, who is a 1992 graduate of Iowa State with a degree in psychology and associate professor in human development and family studies. Speaking on behalf of Tricia is Olivia Diggs. Olivia is a 3-time Iowa State alumna with a 2015 degree in psychology, a master's in 2018, and PhD in 2022 in human development and family studies. She is an epidemiologist for the Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System and the Youth Risk Behavior Survey at the Iowa Department of Health and Human Services. She also works for the Family Transitions Project as a research scientist and lives in Huxley. Olivia, please come forward for your remarks.
Good evening, everyone. I was hoping to not go last, but here we are. My name is Dr. Olivia Diggs, and I am a 2022 graduate of Iowa State's Human Development and Family Studies doctoral program. I'm an epidemiologist at Iowa HHS and also a research scientist on the Family Transitions Project. Thank you first to the Alumni Association for providing this opportunity for students like me to recognize outstanding and inspirational faculty members of the university for their impact on our lives. Dr. Nepple and I have a long and rich history. She has been my undergraduate and graduate mentor, but even more significantly, a second mother figure and a trusted friend and colleague. From being a college junior in Dr. Nepple's undergraduate course to earning a full pass on my dissertation defense with Dr. Nepple as my major professor, I have been encouraged by her every step of the way. I first met Dr. Nepple in 2014 as an undergraduate student in her course. 1 year later, I approached Dr. Nepple about a research opportunity in her lab for my senior honors capstone project. After a discussion in her office, we had decided on a project. Dr. Nepple looked me in the eyes from across her desk and gently nudged me with a wink and said, "Please consider applying for graduate school." I worked with Dr. Nepple and our then graduate student, Shin Young, to develop a model that I presented at the Honors Symposium in the fall of 2015 and later at my first national conference in Miami, Florida. I'm proud and humbled by the opportunity to take my mom, also an Iowa State alum, who was with me tonight to that same conference in San Diego almost 10 years later, where I will be presenting one of my dissertation papers. If it weren't for Dr. Nepple, neither one of us would have this opportunity. Dr. Nepple deserves to be recognized as an inspirational faculty member at Iowa State because she not only mentors, teaches, and encourages myself and other students, but because she also models the balance of family life amidst all of her academic responsibilities. As a young woman, this is something I very much look up to and aspire to. She has showed me what it looks like to have goals, dreams, and aspirations that are even bigger than being a professor at a research institution. She has proven to her students, colleagues, and university that she is most deserving of this recognition. Without further ado, please welcome Dr. Tricia Nepple.
Ooh, she about made me cry. I'll try to get through this without crying. Olivia, thank you so much for nominating me for this award. You know that you're very special to me, and we have a very close relationship, so it means even more that you're the one who nominated me. I'm very proud to have been your advisor, and I'm so proud of all of your accomplishments. One of the best parts of my job is working with graduate students, both as a major professor, as well as being the director of graduate education for our department. I really value being part of that journey, to be able to watch as students progress in our program and grow as scholars. It is the most rewarding, sometimes challenging, but more rewarding than challenging parts of my job. I want to thank Olivia and all of my students. A couple of them are here tonight. It means so much to me that you're here tonight. Thank you. I love working with each and every one of you. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your time here at ISU, and you inspire me as well. As with Olivia, I often collaborate with students after they graduate, so hopefully you're not rid of me yet, and we'll continue to work well into the future together. Thank you to my friends and family who are a constant source of support. It means a lot to me, too, that you're all here. If I may, I'd like to acknowledge my parents, Mike and Linda, who are here tonight. My children, my son is out of the country, so he couldn't be here tonight. But my daughter, Ashlyn, came all the way from Missouri to be with me here tonight. And my husband, Tom. Love you all very much. Finally, thank you to the ISU Alumni Association for this award. I appreciate it very much. I'm very humbled and honored. Thank you.
Or if you're like me, one word, wow. What inspiring and touching stories by both the presenters and our recipients. We're all humbled by your remarks. Would all 5 honorees please stand and let us salute you together. Thank you for sharing such special memories with us tonight. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you for making Iowa State University a better place for future alumni. And I want to thank all of you for attending tonight's event. We will conclude tonight's event as we do every year by singing the Bells of Iowa State. The words can be found in the beginning part of your program, as well as on the screen. Please stand if you are able. Good night.